Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar this evening. Thank you guys so much for joining. We have Elise, Jonathan Greene, and AJ, myself here this evening. It's going to be a lot of fun. So without further ado, let's jump over to that. I'm going to stop talking and we'll jump right into it. One thing I did want to mention, guys, is as you have questions, please throw them in the chat. I will be I'll be posing questions to our panelists once we get to that point. So as you have questions, please throw them in the chat. And yeah, that was it. Let's go back.
Before there were apps, and we had a strict system. It was me driving and my friend in the passenger seat, and we would call a street. So we'd get to Smith Street and I would call Smith, and then she would write down Smith, and then I would just say the numbers as we drove, 7, 15, identifying all the things that now we're looking for in the app that gives us so much assistance. But I had a system before that. And going all the way back to what we mentioned, I was a passenger in my dad's car driving for dollars from the time I was a baby on. And the story that I always tell is I was like kind of I guess I was a burglar. I mean, we would get the list of foreclosures from the courthouse steps, and there was no internet then. I'm old, so there was no internet. And we would go look for the properties, and if they were vacant, he would just crack a window. I would go through the window if it was small, and I'd go around, open the door. I thought it was great. I only saw my dad on weekends, so this was like, it was fun for me. He knew if he would like get me like a game for Intellivision at the end, I wouldn't, say anything to my mom that I was crawling through windows. So that's really where I learned. And I think even then I knew he was doing something cool, but I didn't really get it. We would do that, and we would spend the weekends going to yard sale, and he knew that if people were doing a yard sale, there was a chance they were selling. So he was making a lot of offers at yard sales, while I was just looking for basketballs in the basement. But again, he part of what I do now is built on the principles that he taught me, which is building relationships. So I go much deeper on the research and back end of things instead of what I call spray and pray, which I have no problems with that. I just think that's a budgetary thing. Like if you can spend a lot, you can do spray and pray, which for anyone who doesn't know is just sending out a lot of everything and then just waiting to get them back. But because I was at the forefront of doing all the appointments when I do spray and pray now, they're bad appointments, so it's a bad use of my time. So I really try to cull it so that if I'm personally going on an appointment, I know it's going to go well, because I just I don't have a lot of time to waste, and I try to make sure that I'm using the best data. And obviously, using DealMachine helps me tremendously because I'm able to get quick data and see on a block which are my targets, and then see if they actually match up in real life to what I'm looking for.
I love that. And you have a team of agents. I wanted to kind of touch on that. How did that whole thing go together with, like, do you do wholetailing? Do you do like, kind of tell me about how that was built?
Yeah, I mean, so I've been investing my whole life. My dad taught me to invest, when I was young. So I was fortunate enough to really be in it for a long time. So my experience is built on a lot of personal knowledge, which helps me. But I do think that literally anybody can get into the business and do well. But I think it's a mindset thing about why you're getting in. So about 7 years ago, I ended up getting my license. I was just a solo agent. I was always investing, doing flips, doing burrs, Airbnbs, all of it. And then eventually I built one team, and now I built another team, which is built as an investor-friendly team. So we're called Streamline Properties on Market. We're brokered by eXp Realty. But basically, I have about 30 agents, and most of them are, if not all, are interested in investing or are already current investors. And if they're not, I'm going to convince them to become an investor when the financing is right. That's a very big part of the equation. But yeah, we use DealMachine as a team to give them opportunities to drive their neighborhoods. And I think the thing that some people forget is that an app, like this, it's not just for off-market investors. Like for us, for on-market and teams, it's great. I let them use it as a neighborhood adjuster. They can ride their neighborhoods. They're each assigned to one neighborhood, and they can see how many vacant, how many foreclosures, and then they can start taking notes. So for me, when I know we'll get into my 6-prong approach, it doesn't just help me on investing. It helps me looking at what's the market doing. And if they're driving the neighborhood using the app, they're also seeing the for sale signs out, seeing which neighborhoods are getting hotter quicker. So having people in the car who also have an interest in getting other business is great for me because they're just doing neighborhood research, and then which helps them become the neighborhood expert, which I want them all to be.
Yeah, and I do want to get to the 6 prong, but I want to ask, like, so are they all just in your area, or how do people get into this? Because it sounds like this would be something everybody, because it's like a mentorship, like,
Yeah.
But getting into this. So how do you go about if someone was interested?
Yeah, I mean, they can contact me. I'll put all my info, in at the end. But so we're in 5 states now. So because EXP is national, the team is also national. So we have the majority of our agents now are in New Jersey, but we have a few in New York, growing in Pennsylvania. We love the Philadelphia market, doing a ton of business up there. I saw a bunch of people from Philly pop in on the call. We have my team success manager is in Nevada, and she's also licensed. And then we're just starting in Houston, Texas as well. And by having DealMachine, that gives me not only the opportunity to use my agents as drivers, but we can do side drivers. So we have the enterprise accounts. We have the opportunity to have up to 300 drivers, but I know we'll talk about, I'm very strict on what I want them driving for. So if somebody wants to be an agent with the team, then we're looking for that. And I do bring on a lot of people who were investors, explain to them how it's worth their time to get the license, even if they don't want to be a regular agent. It's just a huge benefit to have your license as an investor. You get because I mean, there's probably a lot of wholesalers on the call. If you don't have MLS access, you don't know the ARV. Like, I'm sorry, you don't know the ARV because you don't have the comps. The comps that are on Zillow and Redfin, those aren't the comps. That's some of the comps, even though Zillow has a lot of MLS now, you're not going to see sold comps. So, the most important things on wholesaling are your repair costs and your ARV. If those numbers are bad, no one's going to trust you. And you're not going to be able to move those deals. So by giving all this kind of access, we are able to bring in people who are interested. They can just drive and then they can learn. And in the back end of the team, we're coaching every single day, an hour, and a lot of it is investor based. A lot of it's agent based as well. But I run a bunch of real estate investor Zooms as well locally, New Jersey and Philadelphia. So we just kind of give away a ton of information for free and try to help investors not make the mistakes that we see. Like in general forums, 25% of the information given is good, but when you're new, you don't know. It all sounds good, So these things are important. Webinars as well to find out kind of not necessarily tips and tricks, but like what experienced people do. But that it's not only experienced people that do well. You can figure it out fast. You just have to understand what it takes to really do it and not look for quick fix, which is the thing that drives me crazy.
Well, I just want to say this because I'm horrible at this, but I tend to let things slip a little bit. But we are looking right now at getting the MLS data in our app.
Yeah.
And so super exciting. Don't ask people. I don't have a timeline, but I do know that is like in the works. So super exciting things. But before we go into the live Q&A, I do want to go over the 6 prongs that way, because I think a lot of people will have questions about that to talk about that further. So again, everyone, please put your questions in the chat, and Dakota will be bringing up people who have the best questions. So Jonathan, take us through the 6 prongs.
Yeah, and so for me as an investor, I always wanted to have as many options as possible. And when you're just an investor, which is completely fine, you only have so many options. So we have a 6-prong approach that any of us who are licensed can use, which basically means when I go on appointment, whatever they want, I can do it. And that's the one thing. And obviously, all of our jobs is to pitch ourselves when they're there. We're trying to build a relationship, but we're also trying to show them, if you want to list your property, sure, we can do that. Because anyone who does off-market appointments knows they can go in a variety of directions. You don't know what you're getting until you get in the door. And we want to be prepared for all of the options. So that's what we call the buffet. I want to make sure, it's like when you go to a buffet, you're like, well, I mean, I kind of feel like I want some Chinese food, but oh, wait, look, there's pancakes. Maybe want some sushi. You just get a little bit of everything, and then you feel like there's nothing I can miss. So that's kind of us on an appointment. One is a cash offer, and that cash offer is direct from me, and I'll show them a proof of funds on my phone from my bank account when I'm there. And I think that is one separator. I mean, I have nothing against wholesalers. I don't like bad wholesaling, but I don't like bad real estate agents or bad investors either. So they're present in all aspects of real estate. But like, there's a lot of people who mail quick sale for cash, but they don't have the cash. Maybe they're using modified hard money or private money. So that's my leverage, and we're all trying to leverage our best things. So I'll say cash buy is number 1, wholesale is number 2, which everybody should know about. Wholesale is number 3, which I actually prefer. It's a double close method. So if you have the cash, you can close, do what most people call lipstick flip, clean stuff up, maybe do some modified repairs, and then put it right back on the market, which again helps me because then I'm getting another listing. So for me, I have ancillary opportunities of being an investor. So I'll just cut in the middle of this and then get the last 3 prongs. But if I do a flip and I put up a listing and I want to make 50,000 and I only make 25,000, but then a lot of people like it, and then my agents are getting open house opportunities, there's a lot of ancillary benefits for me with the license. So I really don't over focus on the numbers on anything. I just keep trying to move forward and also not overwhelm. So 1, cash straight. 2, wholesale. 3, wholesale. 4 is express offers, which is basically your iBuyer programs. Everybody might be familiar with them. They're institutional buyers. They usually do about 50 or more cash transactions. They'll view photos and stuff online, and then they'll just make a cash offer, and the person can take it. So we have a portal for that. So reduced percentages on both sides, but there's opportunities to get back the flipped listing, which is a great opportunity. Then there's what most people, especially in LA, call a pocket listing. I call it deal matching. So say I'm driving DealMachine, I make a contact with a seller. Seller wants to sell. They don't want anyone in the house. They don't want to do pictures. They don't want to do a showing. I have a ton of investors in our database. I know the area. I know what they're looking for. I'll bring the investor right to the property and try to broker the deal for them. And if I know the investor well enough and they're going to flip it and they're going to list it with us, I'll just put them into the deal and I'll take nothing. I'm not obsessed with getting paid out on every deal. I don't care. I'm always building the relationship for the future, because the reason why agents should all want to work with investors, and plenty of investors know, very hard to find good agents who understand investing, like really understand the metrics of it. An investor can do 10 deals a year, whereas your regular person will do 1 deal every 10 years. So it's
Right.
just in your best interest to know that. And then obviously 6 is your traditional listing, which again, if somebody, if you're a wholesaler or off-market seller, you're trying to make a deal. So if you walk in and they say, well, I looked at this estimate, I want market value, you're done. I mean, there's nothing else you can do. And they should want market value. The market's been crazy. So I'm able to say, well, we'll put it up, and they'll say, and then we have the commission discussion and we go through that. But that's it. It's a buffet of options for them, so that no matter which way they go, you have a workflow to get back to, we can help you. Not we can try to get the property, we can help you. And for some people, that means just making sure they get a bunch of stuff done in the next year, and then we'll help them out over time. So I'm the least pushy off-market investor and salesperson ever, because I honestly don't care that much to be pushy. I want to build the relationship, and if they don't do a deal, they'll probably send somebody else who will.
I think that that's really important, is building, that you touched on building that relationship, because a lot of those are, especially in the distressed homes, are very vulnerable. They don't know what's happening. I'm sure they're very overwhelmed because they feel like it's almost like a scam. At least I'd be like, why would you offer me cash money for this house?
But to be honest, some of it is a scam. I mean, like, it's not like everyone who does this isn't great. That's just the truth. So there are a lot of people going in who don't explain the wholesale process. And I know there's a technique to it, but like, if you're doing wholesaling, you're going to get caught up if they don't understand that you're selling the contract or you're assigning the contract. Like, they have to understand. I think, if you go through the process, you want to be as transparent as possible, because that's what will help you get more. We have time, like my project manager, Jenny, and I were always flipping, and she's great she knows everyone in the neighborhood. And people think like, oh, well, they don't want to just sell you quick cash. You're wrong. They do want to sell you quick cash because they see that you're nice, you're taking care of the block, you're not annoying anyone. She's nice to everybody. And then they say, well, actually, maybe that's just a better deal. Look what they did to that house. I want to move. I want to get out of here. And I mean, everyone's job, if you're brand new to off-market investing, your job isn't to buy the house, because you can't buy the house until you know what their motivation is. So until you know where they want to go, you've achieved nothing, because to leave the house, they have to go somewhere. So all my conversation in the beginning isn't about the value. They want to talk about the value. I say, where are you going to go when we make a deal on this home? And that's one of the things that you just keep going back to them. And then if I can help them get to the next spot, then I'm getting multiple deals, but I'm actually helping people multiple times. If they say, well, I want to move to Florida, I say, great. I know agents in every area of Florida. We can definitely help you. And then we try to line up a system where we're not pushing them into a quick sale. And again, I've been in situations where I am trying to make a quick sale, but like, all of us are using the leverage that we have. And like you said, it's different now. When I go on appointments, there could be 5, 6 investors, wholesalers there. On those, I just leave, because I mean, how come I getting a good deal if there's already 6 people there? Like, I may like them, but I'm not in the competition. So that's why I don't really use spray and pray as much. I'm just going to really try to build deep relationships, and sometimes it'll be 1-2 years of me just calling every month, every 2 months, 3 months. And I don't ask them about the property. And I think that's what's different about me and how I'm training my agents to be investors. I'll call, we'll talk for 15 minutes, and they'll say, hey, you didn't ask me anything about the house. And I said, well, I'm pretty sure if you're ready to sell, you would have told me. And if not, do whatever you want. I'm just not that. I'm hungry for deals, but deals are hard to get, and you get the best deals by building the best relationships.
I love that. I love that you don't ask about the properties, because you're right. That's so logical. If they were ready, they do it. Dakota, we got some people to bring up. Jonathan's ready. Who's ready? Awesome.
I'm ready to answer. Yeah.
Yes. Hi, how are you?
We're doing
Hi, Lillian.
great.
Okay,
How are
thank
you?
you. Great. Your information is very informative. I appreciate your experiences. I'm asking with you have your team, how do you map out so you can remain organized in their daily routes other than doing a zip code? I mean, what's the best way to map this?
Yeah, great question. So, I mean, it's different because I have an on-market and off-market team. So if we're talking about just scheduling them out for drivers, they each get assigned kind of a zip code, kind of a town, but anyone can drive anywhere. My goal for everyone is to have one driving town just so they can know it better than anybody else, so that if something comes up, they know that off-market data. I want my driver in, say, like Bloomfield, New Jersey, I want them to know that there's 5 foreclosures on Smith Street. That's what's important to me. That's why I don't really want to put them on. But with some of the new features that DealMachine has rolled out, I think there's a lot of opportunities for agents and for investors who have big lists, because now you can load the lists in and have them drive a list and kind of check up on properties, which I know you wanted to get to concerned citizens. So I'm just putting that back on the table while I'm answering Lillian, because it's part of the off-market thing. Did that explain that, Lillian? I don't really make them drive a route, because most of mine are all involved. We have very few ancillary drivers who are just driving for us right now. It's really my agents, and we're working all angles of it, and they stay pretty much in their area. But I will say, if they go on vacation, I say that's a great time to drive. Let us learn some data about a new neighborhood. So if they take a trip to California, I said just do an hour, because I like to see the data in the back end, and we're always looking and building relationships across the country with other investors, contractors, real estate teams, because we'll invest anywhere, but we learn the neighborhoods really well. It's how we got doing so much business in Philadelphia.
Great. What about do you have a virtual driving team?
We have some, yeah, that we don't see. Yeah, we've worked on a few, but we're still working the workflow. And I know I talked to Elise about this. Like I'm so obsessive that we really spent the last 4 months figuring out how we're going to make the best use of how we use DealMachine. So we do a lot of back-end analytics and research and testing, and then basically prepping for 2022, which we will be acquiring drivers in other areas. And we're just trying to figure out what the best kind of pay scale opportunity is, because the one thing that I don't want drivers to do for me is I don't want a lot of properties. That just is more trouble for me. So I make a very specific target, and I don't want them to earn by the amount that comes in, because that actually makes just more work for me. So I kind of tighten up the target for what they're looking for, traditional metrics like you can see in the app and the highlights. And then I like them to come up with their own opinions. And while they're driving, what I really want them to do is find out where the fringe parts of the neighborhoods are adjusting or changing, where the most flips are happening. And that's why it's great to be in the car, stop, use the app, see what the data says, get back to driving.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Lillian,
thank you,
I just want to add on there, Jonathan teed me up really well with the assigned routes, but I want to let you know that even if you don't have like a list or anything, if you're on our pro or elite plan, you can actually now assign a route of just like, say you wanted to check out an area that had the most like vacant absentee owners, and you can assign that to the person to drive. And if they're, say they drive for an hour, they get halfway through the list, it'll pause and they can pick up where they left off, and they can add properties on the way while they go. It doesn't have to be just in that criteria, to like Jonathan's point of like, they really have that eye once they get used to it. So if you want more information on that, we can totally get you that too. I just wanted you to know it's an option.
Okay, I'm focused on the virtual driving. Okay,
Oh,
so
yeah.
that's a whole different ball game, and figuring out how to map this is a challenge right now. And so if someone has any suggestions, I would appreciate that.
The virtual, I will say how I virtually drive for dollars is I geofence out the area, and then and I know I wish we could map it out on actual Google Maps of where we virtually drove, but I just take one corner and I can work my way from one part of the geofence to the other and then work back. And then I know which street I stopped on to where I can go back and go forward until I'm done with that entire like geofenced area.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right, we got Javon. Did I say your name right?
Yeah, I don't know yeah, you said my name right.
Awesome. Welcome, Javon.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Great.
How
Hey,
can we help?
well, I just want a quick question. You know, I just moved to a new city, so I just want to know, how do you determine the best neighborhoods to start driving in, you know, when you in a new city, you know?
That's a great question. So I have a very specific process for identifying new areas. If you're new to the city, you should be able to figure out pretty quickly, like, which is the hottest area. So when I find the hottest area, I go onto Google Maps or look at a regular map, and I map out 2 towns out in each direction. And I start at the second town out, and I drive basically the circle of the 2 towns around in every direction to see what type of activity is happening there. Because usually if you go 2 towns out, you're going to be able to see that it's not matching up. And I'm always trying to find, especially if you're looking to be a wholesaler and you want to find deals. I mean, there's so many out there, you have to find the areas before somebody else does. So that's the best way to do it. I figure out by talking to other investors which area is the hottest, looking at data. And then I'm going to go 2 towns out in every direction and kind of see what's going on. And then as you keep driving those routes, you'll start to see, oh, okay, I just saw 2 flips start in an area where I haven't seen a flip in 6 months. And that tells you it's time to get in and start looking for deals. Because once people who live there see that flips are happening, it means they can get out of their property. More investors are going to come. And I always want to beat everybody to the neighborhoods. I'd much rather buy in early and wait, do more of a long-term reverse burst strategy than buy into the hottest market, because I just can't make as much money that way.
Okay.
Anything else, Javon, that you wanted to ask?
Nah, that's it for right now. That's pretty helpful. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Not
absolutely.
a problem.
Appreciate
Thank
the
you.
questions.
Jonathan, how's it going? Another Jonathan. Jonathan and Jonathan.
Strong name, yeah.
Oh, we had him for a minute. I'm going to ask him to unmute you.
Hey, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your experience with us. My question is, it's about your drivers or your deal finder. How do you pay them? You pay per hours, per commission? How do you pay them? Thank you.
Yeah. Again, great question. It's a smart question for drivers who want to be successful at it. Right now, we're still playing with a couple pay scales. It's definitely going to be more of a commission. So the way that I look at most everything in real estate, including investors, side deals, how my agents work, is I want everyone to be invested in the process. So I don't want an investor who's just trying to, a driver who's trying to get numbers to please me. I'd much rather have them have a basis. And then if there's different metrics for what they would do. So if they just do the drive and add it, then there'd be one level of smaller commission if we do close a deal of any kind on that, whether it be a listing, off-market buy. If they do end up making client contact because we're not in the area and we assign them to do the client contact, then that's a higher commission rate if they become the point person. And again, one thing that I do that I think is different than some, and I mean, I'm not really sure, I give all of my agents and drivers right of first refusal on the deal. So people who are driving for me, if they find a good property and they're an investor and they want to buy it, they can buy it. They don't have to pay me anything. Completely fine with me. I'm trying to grow investors and teach everybody how to do it. So I think that's something that we do that's a little bit different. And that keeps you, anyone as a driver, more invested in the process. And we do we would train everybody to be potentially a point person, teaching everybody about how to do the off-market dialogue, which again is very, very different, which is hopefully something we'll talk about that I think is, wrong with just sending the same postcard to everybody. Every seller is different. Like quick cash is not what most off-market sellers want. I know that may sound surprising, but that's not what most of them want. Sorry to go on that side tangent, but
No, that's good. And Jonathan, Jonathan, not Greene, but Jonathan, there's what we typically find is like Jonathan was saying is commission, and then there's hourly, and then per lead payment structures. And we have some YouTube videos I can have AJ put in the chat that you can check out too, to kind of see what you're more comfortable with budget wise as well, because that also plays a factor in that.
Perfect. That will be great. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. All right. And I do want to have you talk about your mailers, because I think those are super important. If you are sending out mail marketing right now or thinking about it, could you guys give us a quick yes or me or something in the chat? Because Jonathan has some real gems that I would like him to. Okay, we're already starting to get some real great information about how he does his marketing different to catch the attention. And I think this goes along with your, what did you call it? Spray and pray. Spray and pray. Spray and pray.
Send out as much as possible. Pray that somebody calls you
back. This makes sense now. I will never forget this ever again.
Sorry, that's not.
I love it. Yeah. I'm gonna make it part of my vocabulary now. Okay, we're gonna get this question from. Is it Kada?
Yes, ma'am. Hey, how y'all doing?
Hi.
Great.
Good.
Right. Good afternoon. Well, evening. It's here in South Carolina. I have a quick question. I've been doing wholesaling for 5 years, and I'm kind of a one-man team, making good money, but I have yet to scale systems, to scale up as far as hiring people, so on. So I was wondering, first of all, what software are you using? Do you hire? Do you have VAs out of the United States? And what are you using for your KPIs? And how are you doing that?
Yeah, great questions. I mean, we track everything. I mean, everything that somebody does, I track. And for some things, we're tracking obviously we're tracking everything that we can inside DealMachine and running the metrics on each driver, seeing how many properties they put in. For me, it's not really the amount of properties, it's what percentage I think are good. And as we move forward, we'll probably initialize a grading system. If we have a ton of drivers, we'll need a grader, and that will be a VA. So we do use VAs. I've used VAs in multiple ways. I vet them very tightly. So for VA callers, it's going to be one style, and for VA data drivers, it's going to be a little bit different. The one thing I'll say is, because I think everybody wants to scale, but if you've been at it 5 years and you're doing great, I don't think you have to scale as much as you think. I think the best advice that I could give you, because it sounds like you have good business, is finding one person who can become the new version of you, so you can scale into a higher part, which is what I call CEO model. You always want to be moving yourself up the chain a little. So with my team, I'm not going to do as many showings as I used to, because I have 30 great agents who can go do the showings for me. So you want to develop somebody, mentor, mentee, who's going to be able to do some of your appointments that you can train to then become you, so you can be out building bigger relationships with the buyers face to face. Because I think that, again, with my relationships of how I think you need to build, especially for wholesalers, I think the main focus is on the buyer's list. And again, you can't have a good buyer's list without delivering good properties. So that's why I think you'd be much better served not trying to automate too much, but find a new version of you, train them to become exactly what's made you successful for the 5 years. And then you start to do that a third time. And that's how you grow without trying to scale too quickly, if that makes sense.
Ooh, awesome. Good information. Thank you, Mr. Greene.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right, we're gonna have Jesus, and then we're gonna go into the marketing, because I saw a lot of people are really intrigued, and also I saw Jonathan, you mentioned.
I tagged that question just so we wouldn't miss it.
Yes,
I know I'll answer it. Yeah.
Yes, you will need to answer it. Jesus, are you there? I'm gonna ask to unmute. Oh, awesome. I see Melissa signed up for one of our trainings with Dakota. Yay. All right. I'm going to give him another second here. Ask to unmute. Dakota, do you have Jesus's question?
That's a great one. Very tough. So what I do, again, everything with me goes back to how I was raised. It's building relationships in all the areas. So over the years, I've been, I'm 50 now, so I've been investing on my own for more than 30 years. But now what I do is I'm building relationships with other investors in all areas. I also have obviously relationships with agents who can drive me to the right contractors. But we're always looking for real boots on the ground that are investing in the area to vet contractors. I don't trust the online sites, and it's hard enough finding great contractors these days. They're really busy. So we're always going to investors, and you have to remember, an investor's not going to give you their number one contractor, especially if they're doing volume, because then that's going to slow up their deals. So we're always looking for someone to give us an honest opinion as who's like a backup. And again, part of that is being involved in real estate communities like this, connecting with other investors, using the Facebook groups for the best purpose, which is getting information, not trying to like sell all our deals and everything. I think that's where you make the best relationships and find out the best things. And one thing I'll say on that, which I think is the most important when you're trying to vet any type of service person, contractor, plumber, electrician, you can use local Facebook groups also, but I never want a recommendation from the person saying, hey, come use me. That it means nothing to me. I want an ancillary person to come in and say, I've used Bob Smith. I mean, might they be lying? Yeah, sure. But if you're on a Facebook or a forum, you can tell, like, no, I've used this contractor 3 times. I'm much more likely to try that. Is there a kickback involved? I don't know, maybe. To me, the tip off is if they say, tell them to say my name, I'm out. I don't want that. I just want real recommendations, which is, I use Bob Smith Plumbing. They were great. That's a real recommendation. I think that's the best way, but it does take building relationships over time. I don't think you can expect to say like, hey, I want to invest in Peoria, Illinois, and go on Yelp and find a good contractor. That's how you lose all your money.
That is very good suggestions, especially the one about if they suggest themselves. It's a little, yeah. David had to learn the hard way too with all of that. So yeah. I think it's just a learning process in itself of finding someone.
It always is, and no process is correct or wrong. For me, I'm just hedging in the best direction to make it easier for me, but also to get the value. But like anybody who thinks they're going to be an investor for this long and not make mistakes, like every time I flip, something goes wrong, and I've flipped a lot. It's just, this is how it works. It's an imperfect process, but by streamlining what you need to do and understanding that there's relationships involved, like this person may not like this person, you may walk in and you may be at a wholesale deal and that's your friend. I know all the wholesalers, I know all the investors, and I think it's really important. You have to understand, investing is not a competition. As much as people would like to make it a competition to see who has the most doors, I mean, I've like hundreds of investor friends. And if I'm at a deal, some people will say like, oh, well, aren't you going to buy the deals? I'll never buy a deal out from under someone who I'm representing. But if they don't want the deal, yeah, I might buy the deal. I'm an investor. Like, give me a break. But like, there's enough deals out there. There's real estate everywhere. So for anyone who thinks like, oh, the market's hot, I don't want to drive there, that's exactly the reason to drive there. Don't you want to find the one that is, you just want to uncover the gem that maybe somebody else isn't seeing? Maybe it looks okay, but you can identify other things about the house because you're driving so much. If you see a change, which will lead us right into the concerned citizen postcard, if you see a change and you're driving consistently the same neighborhood, and then you're like, whoa, 3 months ago, those shutters were not falling off. Why hasn't someone fixed the shutters? So I'm looking for things like that. Roofs, things that normally somebody would repair if they cared about the house. So when they're not repaired, that's how I'll get us into the concerned citizen. And then the other, I have several other named ones, but that's the one that people seem to get the most.
I love it. Go right into, I was just thinking about the tree that I found on a house. So I should have just sent them this concerned citizens card, be like, hey, notice there was a tree in your living room. Go ahead. Tell me how I would do this. Tell me.
Yeah. Okay. So I do want to grab that question. It was something about like, if they don't want quick cash, what do they want?
Right.
Almost everything else. Because listen, an old person, they bought the house in 1972 for $11,500 and now it's worth $200,000. I mean, they don't need the cash. They're like 72. They're going either to a retirement home or they're going to Florida. I mean, they don't need the cash. They probably have money. They're on Social Security. They're getting paid. And these are ways that you start to identify who's different for seller financing. Because people think like, you know, some people are like, oh, I'm going to become an investor and I'm just going to get seller financing deals. I mean, good luck. You have to know exactly what to identify. And the way you do that is by understanding who the seller is. And this plays into not everybody wanting cash. Somebody could have high equity in the property, so cash isn't really of any consequence. It's about, they don't know where they're going to go. So if someone doesn't know, they've lived in a house for 60 years, it's scary to leave. We come in with alternative options. Listen, you can leave all the stuff you don't want. Take as much time as you want, go through, pack anything you want. When you leave all the stuff you don't want. We'll take care of it. Just by doing that, that will get you way ahead of almost anybody else. We'll set up, and then if they say, well, I have some valuable things, no problem, we'll bring in an estate company for you. We'll handle the estate sale, you get the money, we'll take it when it's done, and then we just demo it and dump all the stuff in demo. But that's it. The problem is that, I don't know, 90%, if not more, of the postcards that go out are focused on, we'll buy your house for cash. It's what every bandit sign says. I mean, that's just not what people want. It's really not. I mean, the sound of it sounds good, but what happens if you have a nice property? Just think of it this way from a regular market perspective. If you have a property that is good upkeep, which those are still investment opportunities because maybe they need to get out for another reason. But if you have a good upkeep property, you're going to get more money if you took a mortgage. So you're going to get more money if you go on the market. So people are scared of mortgages. We explain all the other things. A 203K loan is a great opportunity for someone who wants to sell if you know what you're doing, because it gives both parties a win-win, which is what we're always looking for. So when you're asking someone on all postcards, we'll buy your house for cash, that's because that's really, you're thinking, this is what I want to do. This is what I want. That's not what they want. So you're presupposing what they want. And if you get 75% of that wrong, that's 75% of your postage just wasted. And they're getting the same message, PS, from everybody else in the area. So the way that we adjust our postcards and then getting to concerned citizen is the concerned citizen is actually what it sounds like. You're basically writing a postcard that says, I'm concerned about your property. So it goes something like this, and you can modify it. You can use this in a personal letter. You can use it on postcards. We adjust the dialogue onto the postcards. Obviously, you know, one of the best, when I got DealMachine, I was like, are you kidding me? I can take a picture myself of the property and then send it out on the postcard. This is magic. I mean, this is why it works with concerned citizens specifically, because I'll explain why. So the dialogue goes like this, whether you're in person, on phone, whatever. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I was actually walking by your property at 123 Main Street. And I just wanted to let you know, I'm actually a little concerned because I don't know if you know this, I see you live out of state, but the windows are breaking. There's a big roof. There's a hole in the roof. And I because I walk this route every day, I just wanted to let you know, if you want me to swing by every month, I can send you the same postcard with an update photo with the new thing, with the way that it looks. Oh, P.S. I'm also a local investor. If you ever had any, any ideas of selling it, give me a call, but no pressure. I'm happy to walk by every month anyway. And to me, that dialogue is so much different than I want to buy your house for cash. You know, I want you to give me your property and I want it. You know, it's me saying like, I'm here to help you. I'm actually concerned about your property. Do some people think it's a gimmick? I mean, sure, but I'm sending them a picture, so it's true. I mean, you're not creating if there's something there, there's something there. So what you'll hear in some of the other options, or when we talk about the probate, because I know you guys put that in the promo, like if you think that a probate situation, which is when somebody dies, like that's not a quick cash opportunity. I'll explain why when I tell you what happens when there's 3 heirs. It's always the same. It's never any different. And if you don't understand probate, you'll never close a probate deal because there's multiple heirs. You may be talking to one person, that's not getting anything done because they all have to agree. So that's why I'm saying like your approach is very specific on who the seller is. So if we go back to the beginning, I do a lot of back data analysis. I'm going to use that skip trace function, and I'm going to get that information, and then I'm going to do some internet sleuthing. I'm going to go into Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm going to see everything I can. So some people find that to be a waste of time. That's all the information I need, so that if I get in, I'm going to win the deal, because I've already built the relationship. I know what's there. Or I'm not going to make a deal, but I'm going to help someone get to do something else. And sometimes that's staying in the property. They don't know what to do. We'll just line them up with other people. I'm all for making money. I mean, making money is great, but I just find personally, I'm able to make more money by really being someone who's coming in to help. And again, when you do that, you are coming in to a hot situation, because they've been lied to. I mean, they have been. There's other investors who will come before you and, tell a story, and we just try to be different. And we lose. I lose plenty of deals because I'm not trying to win them, but that's okay.
But you're being very transparent with them, and so that builds
Very.
that builds a level of trust that they then can tell other people in their circle, hey, they were really they were the ones that gave me the whole thing, the whole picture.
You never know when someone's going to need some type of referral. And I think one of the things I do on site, I never discuss price before I get there. They always want to talk about it on the phone, and I won't do it. I just will not go to the appointment if they, how can I give you a price? I can't even see the property. I mean, are you serious? What's the point of me telling you 100? Then you're going to think I'm a liar when I come in and see that your chimney's falling apart. So let me come and see. Remember, I'm always trying to get into the door because I'm good at building relationship face to face. So whatever it is, I'm very tough. I was a trial attorney for 10 years, every day in trial. I will lose any deal to stick with my principles, and that is I'm not giving you an offer before I see the property. Anyone who would do that's crazy. It's not a real offer, because I don't even know what the problem is. You could be a hoarder's house. I mean, are you going to offer the same for a hoarder's house or as you for an old person's house? No. Old person's house is generally well taken care of. Maintenance is well done. Lots of carpet, hopefully over wood floors. Everything is pristine. It's just old. That's a cosmetic renovation. Hoarder's house is you're stepping on 6 foot of stuff. You just don't want the stuff on the bottom to move. So,
right. I want to get to some more questions, but can you give us one more postcard example? Y'all, we are going to have Jonathan on other things, so we will get into other things as well on other times, because he is, as you can tell,
long-winded.
No, he has a ton of knowledge. You're not long-winded. You have a ton of knowledge. You're giving us all these gems. So one thing I did want to ask with that last one for the concerned citizen, did you say you take a picture of yourself with the house?
No.
Oh, okay. I mean, I know David has done that, so that's why I was asking.
Yeah, on a modified version, if I'm doing an appointment with a seller and the seller doesn't show up and I have their number, I always take a video of myself in front of the house that says, hey, Bob, I'm actually out front of your house at 123 Main Street. Maybe you got caught up in a meeting. I'll wait here 5 minutes. It's 100% works every single time. They just bailed on the appointment. They always call back because I'm standing in front of the door. So do not forget that video texting, once you have the number, is really what can change the dynamic. Because again, that's relationship building. Me sending another, look, I'm fine with what people do with marketing, but I'm not an automated text person. It's not my thing. So I rail against it. But the reason is it doesn't build a relationship, and it sounds canned. So even when I use automated responses, they're adjusted to sound like me. So someone like me will spend, a day fixing all the automated responses inside a system just so they go out and it sounds like me. And I'm one of the only people who sends automated responses that says, I just want you to know this is actually automated, but when I follow up after this, it's actually going to be me. We want to provide you the best service, so we get right back to you with an automatic text, but this isn't me. Next time you hear from me, it will be me. I see the text go out, I immediately follow up hey, this is actually Jonathan. Do you want to talk about your property at 123 Main Street? And I think, a lot of people are figuring out what's the best way to spend money. Should I get this app? Should I mail these postcards? Everything will be better if you're focused on building relationships. Someone had a great question in the chat. It was is he saying, don't tell them I want to buy the house? I really honestly don't talk about it that much because I'm allowing them to talk about it. And the more they talk, the more happy they are to talk about themselves, because everyone wants to talk about themselves. So when you go on an appointment, all you want to do is ask them questions. They start out always hot out of the gate. How much are you going to give me? You know, how much am I going to get? Can I move? I say, where are you going? Where are you going? When we make a great deal on this, that's a win-win. We're both happy. You and I are both celebrating. I like to make a lot of jokes like that. Where are you going? And they say, I don't know. And then in my head, I know, okay, this isn't happening today. So you're a non-seasoned investor just going to keep trying to push that button. Whoa, there's no point. They don't, if they don't know where they're moving, you're not making a cash deal on the house. They have nowhere to go. You know, so do you have family in the area? Where are you thinking? You like Florida? You have to be that type of person to work long term. And again, I'm good with all systems. If people are successful, not for me to say do something different, but you know, this is the way that I do it. And then I will get to another postcard as well.
All right. I just want to tell y'all, you better have a pen and paper out. I grabbed one because I was just like, I know I can watch the replay, but I need to write this down right now. My favorite thing so far, my biggest takeaway, and I would love to hear everyone else's biggest takeaway right now too, is that where do you want to go is what the question should be. Not what do you,
Always.
Not what you want, not where do you want to go? And I've never heard it phrased that way. And I like that because you're right. If there's, and what a lot of people ask, like, well, how do you get them to want to sell? You don't get them to want to sell. Like, well, if they don't want to sell.
Let me stop you for 1 sec. That's great though. They already want to sell. That's why they called you. They responded to your marketing piece because they want to sell. So you don't have to come in hard selling them. They called me. So everything that I do is built for them to call me. I don't cold call anyone, never. I don't have my agents cold call anyone. We only respond to warm leads because that's a better use of our time. That's why I spend more time on the postcard so that the dialogue generates more calls so that my agents and my drivers and all of us are involved in much better conversations. Anyone who's done extensive spray and pray will tell you the appointments are an absolute disaster. You schedule out your time, you drive 30 minutes, you get there and they're like, I want 600,000. And you're like, oh, bro, I just went on RPR. It's 220 is your value. Like, are you crazy? I just wasted an hour. I just leave. And I'm someone who, if I walk in and there's other wholesalers there and I've told them specifically on the phone, listen, I only work one-on-one. If I get there and then I see one of my friends, I just leave. I'm very nice. I say, I really appreciate the opportunity, but I'm not, this isn't really for me. I'm not in a competition. I'm building relationships. I wish you the best of luck. A lot of times they'll call me. I will text them after that and say, how'd you do? I hope you did well. And I'll give them feedback on who's there, who I think the best one to deal with is. Why not?
I mean, love that.
They will know somebody else. I mean, that's just part of doing the right thing, I think.
I love it. Okay, I want one more postcard to tell us about, and then we'll have one more question, Dakota, tee up a real solid gold gem, okay? And then we will, but I want y'all to know, if you did not get your question answered tonight, you will have ways to contact Jonathan here, but also we will be, I mean, I haven't asked him yet, but I assume that we'll be getting
all the time.
Yeah, Jonathan's going to come back a lot. So just know this isn't the last time you're seeing him too. And people have been asking, this is replay ready right after we're done with our demo in about a half an hour, and you'll be able to rewatch this and go through things. Again, though, take out a pen and paper right now, y'all, because you're learning a lot in a short amount of time. So
got another good one coming.
Okay, go.
Yeah. So the next one is the caretaker. Caretaker is built for old people. Nothing against age, but old people who are transitioning out of an old home. Your pitch is not they bought it for $12,000. Like, I mean, cash. What they don't care. They don't. Once they know where you're going. So caretaker, the dialogue is basically this. And again, remember, sometimes you can make a lot of mistakes with caretaker because they could come up because one party died, which it's happened to me multiple times. But I go with that and I'm just very apologetic. I'm really sorry. I get the data from these sources. We didn't know. I really apologize. I always end up in a conversation, but sorry. Here's your caretaker. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I've seen you've lived on the block for 52 years. I'm a local resident. I walk by all the time. I love the character of your home. If you're ever interested in selling, I just want to let you know, I'm not one of those investors who come in and wants to tear it down and build something new. I want to transition and bring in somebody else that will take care of the home just as you did. I never bill myself as the person who's gonna do it. I will tell them I'm gonna flip your home, but I tell them my job is to bring your character forward to the next person so that the next person that goes in can live there the 60 years as well. I mean, that's what they want. No one who's lived in a house 60 years wants to sell to just anybody. And they definitely don't want to sell to quick for cash who doesn't care about them. Old people, maybe their relatives don't, not paying as much attention to them. Sometimes they're alone. Sometimes a spouse has died. You have to come in and try to make that connection. And again, I can see people using my dialogues not in the best way, but it's a heartfelt from me. Everybody who knows me knows that I will do what I can to help them get to another place, and I will interact with their heirs, because remember, if you're dealing with someone who's in their 70s, they technically are making the decision, but there's heirs behind them who are very leery of you coming into the situation. So every time, again, my dad was a probate attorney growing up. I dealt with probate, and I also dealt with client evictions, everything as a kid. So I always tell them, if you feel uncomfortable in any way, let me talk to your son or daughter. I'll talk to them anytime. Here's my information. Then once I talk to them, they realize oh, actually, he's not trying to steal the property. And that's relationship building. But if you want to deal with old people sales, you're going to need to have a different dialogue. It's not quick for cash. It's, I want to take care of your home the way you did. And honestly, that's how I flip, though. I want to maintain the character. Obviously, I'm going to modernize the whole thing. I'm not going to leave, the mauve carpets in there. But, and if you build the relationship right, most of the people that I buy from will come back to the flipped open house to see what we did, and they'll like it. If we make a win-win, they're not going out sour, although, it happens. It's investing. It's not perfect.
Right. Right. That is the mindset. I think you started that off, the whole webinar off with that. It's your mindset. There's so much to that in this business. Okay, Dakota, you got us a solid question.
Yeah, so I'm going to kind of modify this a little bit, because I know there are some people in here who are new to wholesaling and everything like that. So, and I know I've been monitoring the chat, so if you have answered this, let me know. But I think it'd be useful. I know you talk a lot about, you don't have a problem with wholesaler. You love good wholesalers. So what, in your opinion, makes a good wholesaler?
Oh, that's the best question of the night. Not that all of them weren't great, but it's so important, because to me, the best investor and the best wholesalers are honest and transparent. And for some reason, people think oh, you shouldn't do that. No, you should. You should explain what wholesaling is and how it works, because if you don't, you're going to have a problem later. They're going to feel like you just stole your spread from them. They have to know up front, listen, this is how it works. I am going to get some money in the middle because you don't know I'm not going to say it like this. I'm going to say it nicer. You don't know anybody. I know lots of people who want to buy for what you're looking for, if that's quick cash. So for that, I'm going to get a fee in the middle, but I'm going to write up a contract that's going to pay you. And for me as a wholesaler, I will close it. So that's the one thing. If you're transparent and if you don't have the cash, don't say you have the cash. That's just aggravating to me on a personal level, because they think you have it. If you're using hard money, do you need to go in and explain how hard money works? But no, but let me explain something. The only thing that is cash is cash. Hard money is not cash. Private money is not cash. Your friends isn't cash. Cash is cash in your own bank account, because all the other forms of cash have requirements. Your friends may decide they don't like it. Hard money is still going to do a mini appraisal. They may think that you didn't do the information right. So one, honesty and transparently, and then without any question, you cannot be a good wholesaler if you do not know repair costs and you don't know how to get the correct ARV. I would never trust a wholesaler when the numbers are wrong. But I'm telling you, when I find a wholesaler and I know their numbers are right, I will look at the deal and I will send it to 5 buyers right away. And then I manage the process. I'm not buying everything. I send direct. I know which wholesalers are correct, and I know which will give me access. So the honesty part, if you send me a wholesale deal in my email and you can't even get me in the door, that annoys me. I'm not going to work with you again. I want to know what access you have. So when I get a wholesale email, which they're very good, I'm going to send it back like, do you have this information? When's the showing window? Which shows I know what I'm doing. There should be one showing window, not free showings. It should be like Saturday 10 to 12. Great. That's when investors can come in because that's a wholesale deal. So honesty, transparency, repair cost, and ARV. The biggest mistake that brand new people, brand new to wholesaling, they don't have any idea how repair costs, and somehow they think a contractor is going to come with them and just be like, hey, it's sure, I have nothing else to do. Let me give you an estimate that has no chance that I'm going to get the job just to help you. No contractor who is good at their job is ever going to do that for you unless they're your friend. That's why it's good to be in investor circles, have investors, and maybe if you're in a partnership with a contractor, then you're in a really good situation there. ARV is after repair value, somebody asked. So, and you can only get that from MLS comps. That's why it's so important. Because what you do as a wholesaler, you find a property, put it under assignment contract, you're going to deliver that out on a private email. Remember, there's super requirements, especially with licensing, that you can't engage in the unlicensed sale of real estate. So it has to be a disclaimer in your email that says this is not for public consumption. This is only for private email lists. And then you go through that. And inside that email, you're going to say, I'm offering this property for 100,000. We estimate the repair costs at 22, and your ARV, which is what the after repair value looks like. If it's going to be a 3-1 in the neighborhood, is 200, so they can see what their spread is. If that's wrong, which it is a lot of the time, like Jenny and I will open up a wholesale, we'll send it to each other, and I look at it and I'm like, I can look at the pictures and know the Reno 70, and it says in their Reno 30, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, like, this is just silly because their spread is built in there, but you can't sell that deal. I mean, you can get lucky. You can definitely get lucky these days. There's a lot of people overpaying for stuff, but that's a great question. And if I could have any way of helping change wholesalers, even if you're good at it, if you do things a little bit more transparent, you'll be much better because you're helping people and giving them the information. There's nothing worse than being the seller in a wholesale deal and not understanding that you're not the one buying the property. Like, that sounds like a lie, because it is. If you're not closing it or you're not willing to close it, you have to explain that there's another end buyer coming in, because then when it happens, they're like, oh yeah, they explained that. That's great. And I think that's it in a nutshell for me.
No, I love that. And I think that tons of great takeaways from that, you guys. Like the one appointment. I know I've heard so many people say that is like really big for them. We have some investors on our team that say that they really appreciate that. And also, I know that somebody asked what the ARV was. We do have a wholesaling training that's free to everyone that does show the basics of what Jonathan was just talking about, and Dakota runs those. So just so you know, AJ will put that in. But also, we're going to, we kept you 3 minutes past. I apologize. But I just wanted to thank you so much. Can everyone please give Jonathan a huge thank you for all of the great information he's given. And we are going to put in there his pardon me, his Instagram account. And also, are there other specific ways you want people to reach out to you? Or is just Instagram DMs good?
Yeah, I'm putting it in there as well.
Oh, there you go, everyone.
I'm very experienced on the webinars here.
I was just about to say, dang, we were just about ready to put it in there.
Didn't you see all the promos I was doing? I'm like
I know.
promo machine.
And if you don't see him there, go to our Instagram, and we have his whole Takeover Tuesday and our highlights that we link his account in there as well.
Yeah, I'll just say it so we have it on for the recording. So, I mean, our website is www.streamlined.properties. And then every other place you can find me on social is usually Trust Greene with an E at the end. That's my last name, Greene. You can DM me. I do get back to pretty much everybody. And then if you go on the site, there's ways to contact me. It'll go through my team success manager. But if you go to my Trust Greene, there's a ton of, I do a lot of stories just like DealMachine. And again, I'm on, you can see me and my stuff in there. But like, I think that's where it's at. You can see a lot of behind the scenes. And if you look in people's story highlights, at least in mine, there's like different ones for flipping, and you can just go through my flips and go through off-market property appointments. I think that's a great way to learn. I love going through investor stuff on Instagram. But yeah, you can find me on TikTok as well. That's getting a little bit fun.
He's on the TikTok, you guys, and
Yeah.
you're on YouTube, right?
Yep. YouTube. I will be putting out a lot of content in 2012. But I mean, I think if there's the major takeaway is like any content that you get from me, we're giving everything away. Obviously, at some point there will be certain things we're building, like a Flip Academy and other things, but like we're really just, I personally want to help investors not make mistakes that I've made. And I think if you just look in general forums everywhere, it's nobody's fault. There's just a lot of bad advice. So I'm just trying to do my best to make people not make, if you make a bad first decision, you won't want to be an investor. So if you make the smart first decision and understand you can grow, it's just, you can't get 5 years experience in 1 year. You're just not going to do it. You have to take the time and be patient.
That's so true. And I will say, if y'all go on his Instagram, I've learned a lot about Jonathan just personally from his Instagram, because I've looked at the highlights and I'm like, this man's on Peloton. He you share everything and I love it because it's so, you get to know you as a person and you as an investor. So definitely everyone go and follow Jonathan. We are going to be doing a demo here of the DealMachine software. If you want to stick around, everyone, Jonathan, you of course can stick around, but also we know you have a life. So if you do have other, and you're very
I told
busy
you before, I don't. I'll probably just do investing stuff after this. So
there,
I'll hang around.
you're a busy man. So thank you again, Jonathan, for being on here. We really appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys. Look forward to more of these, but I'll hang around for a little while as well.
Okay, awesome. All right, everyone, we're going to transition into our demo. Dakota, you ready?
I am ready. I do just want to say, Jonathan, thank you so much for that. That's awesome. And like, I love a lot of what you're saying. Like, it's about building a relationship. It's about creating that emotion behind what you're doing, right? And you're not out there selling something. You're out there solving a problem or making a relationship. So I love that you made those points on the webinar tonight. And yeah, just again, thank you for coming to share all that.
I appreciate it. I really enjoyed it. All the stuff that you guys do. So I'm in it. You can call me anytime.
All right.
Absolutely.
Hold you to that.
I'll be there.
All right. And we'll come out to New Jersey too. Maybe we'll do like a meetup.
Yeah,
There we go.
for sure.
All right, guys. So we're going to get in here. We're going to go over just a very high level demo of DealMachine really quick. You can look at my Wonder Woman background really quick while I get to the website. But if you ask your questions in the chat, Dakota, my co-host, wonderful co-host, him and AJ have been doing a fabulous job, people. Have they not? Let's give them some love too. But they will be putting your questions up as we go along. So first things first, we have 2 main products here at DealMachine. We obviously have the Driving for Dollars, which you build your own unique list of properties that no one else has. We've been talking about that. It's the lowest cost leads with the greatest ROI. So with this, you get mobile maps, real-time routes. You get to recruit and manage drivers. That's definitely on like what Jonathan was talking about, the Enterprise Elite plan that we have. And then also smart property filters was that highlight that we were talking about. So I'm going to go through that really quickly for you guys. So when you're in your account, that is basically housed in your map section between your map and your driving tab. So in here, this is obviously on desktop, but we do have it on mobile as well. So when you are driving, and I apologize, my computer's working double time right now. So I'm turning on the fan really quickly. We're very transparent here too. We're human people that have technology issues. Okay. It just sounds like it might fly away. Okay. So you see all these little lines on here? That's my real-time driving route. So this is available on our Pro and Elite plans. You can see they're different colors. We did have a question a while ago that was about driving and how often they should drive a list. So the green means that I drove this within 3 months time span, Yes, 3 months. 3 to 6 is going to be the yellow, and then 6 to 12 is going to be the red, which you can see I have lots of yellow. And if I zoomed out more, you'd be able to see all the routes I have. Oh, I just clicked on a property. Well, you can see that too. All these are green because they're added on lists that I've pulled. I obviously demo the software a lot. So these would normally be little black dots. There's a lot of red over here. And then this highlights feature that we talked about, this is available to everyone, every plan. So we have quick lists, which you can use, which basically you can only choose, like you choose one that you just want to see, like I just want to see vacant properties in the area. So I do that, apply the preset. And this is another way that I look to see maybe where I want to drive if I'm in a certain area. So I can see that there are a bunch right over here. So I would just kind of go up and down and see what I'm seeing. This would be the part where you know, Jonathan's dad would say, go jump through the window and see if it's really vacant.
Can I give you a quick tip on this though? Because it's perfect timing for what you have there.
Yes.
Yeah. So for me, safety issues, for what I training my agents to do is I stop at the end of a long block. I pull up the map exactly how you have it, and then I look for the, you know, the rectangles of the lots that I'm looking for. And then I specifically go to those, so I'm not driving and looking at the same time, because if you're in a busy area, it's tough. So the map is amazing, but I always stop at the beginning of the block, look to see what I have, and then I think in my head, okay, 1320, and then I slowly creep by and again do that, shoot out the driver's window only. So if you're on the right side and you have that, I always go and turn around and I come back the other way, so I can always shoot across the street and get a better picture. Sorry, you had the map up, so I thought it was a good segue.
No, that was so good. And it made me think, and actually I'm going to write this down. I feel like we need to do a D for D safety, like reel with Jonathan Greene. I think that would be a great little clip. So yeah, so this is, again, like Jonathan said, you just look at it and then you can go and drive to those specific houses. And I do tend to look around them, even if, you know, don't count out owner occupied, because that's not, you know, we talked about the senior citizens. If you see like a wheelchair ramp, I've added those. Okay, the metal awnings get me every time, and that would be where I would be using the John Greene postcard of the senior citizens, and just saying like, hey, it looks like your house has been, I mean, the yard is kept up really well. And I know we talked about virtual driving for dollars. I find those the most, because they're kept up really well, but you can tell that they haven't been updated in 40 years. So something to look at. And so with this highlights, you can actually, if you're on the mobile map, it'll say start driving down here. The driving tab in itself actually keeps all of your routes here. You can download them. This is really great come tax season to do the write-off for the miles you've driven. You can see your analytics here of how long you've driven, how long your team's driven. This is how David meets with his drivers every week and breaks down, hey, are you adding the amount of properties? Because they have to add a certain amount of properties per hour because they are designated drivers. And he goes through the properties themselves in front of the entire driving team. So they can say, hey, why'd you add this property? It didn't match this. Or, hey, this was a really great property. So that's just something that you can keep in mind if you're starting to hire drivers. Then if you are looking to recruit more on that elite plan, Jonathan gets a recruiting drivers page, and all of our elite plans have this to where you can customize a whole entire training portal. So that way you don't have to onboard people. You can just have them go through this, and very seamless. And all these videos are housed in their app. So if they ever have questions after that, they don't have to keep coming to you. They can just go to the settings and look at those training videos, and you can make all of the training videos yourself. I actually really highly recommend at least doing one of them with you in it, so they know who you are and they know who they're working for. Because if you're recruiting people, they're kind of, I mean, I've interviewed David's drivers. They thought it was a scam at first. They weren't really sure about it, because they're like, why would I be driving around for $20 an hour and adding properties? That just doesn't make any sense. But the fact that, you know, he sees them, he sees David, he talks to David, and David kind of shows him that the proof, I should say, that it's real. I mean, he's had these drivers now for over a year. So, and they're great. They do the app all the time. So going back to this, our second product is our list builder. So this one's really easy peasy. Dakota, did you want to talk about this at all?
There we go. Now I'm on the stream. Yeah, we can talk about list builder. So, you know, you've got all your lists in the sidebar there. So custom lists that you make from your leads, just so you guys know, you can find them in this sidebar. You know, when you filter your leads by specific motivators, you're stacking certain things, you can select all of those and create those custom lists based off of them. Now, The actual list builder product is where you click the build list button. You select where you want to set up your boundary. So we do allow you to be as narrow or as broad in where you'd like to search as you'd like to be. Elise is showing you this custom drawn area, which is great for certain neighborhoods, specific areas of the city that you'd like to target. And then just like the highlights, you'll go through and you can select specific motivators that you're looking for, whether that be a quick list, a preset, and presets do transfer from driving for dollars to list builder. So if you're looking for certain highlights, you've created a preset for that in driving in the driving for dollars portion that actually carries over to list builder too. You can separate them if you want to, but just know you have that option. So you select everything you're looking for, you name your list. Please, one piece of advice, be very specific with your list names. That way you know how to be targeted with your marketing. Like we've talked a lot about tonight, it's targeting your marketing is incredibly important. So the more specific you can be with your list name, the better you can target your marketing specifically for the people that are in that list. So name the list. I always like to include the date as well so that I know the time frame with which I'm working in for that list in particular. And then you can select whether or not you'd like it to be a smart list. Smart list is a fancy term for what I like to call a dynamic list, where we update our data every Monday. And when there's new properties that match the filters that you selected in that area that you set up, they will get added to the list. And in the same way, any properties that lose any of those filters get removed from that list. So that's a very brief overview. We do a little bit more in-depth dive in the trainings that I do on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but it is awesome. And yeah, you can watch the list be built right in front of your eyes, or it does happen in the background. So if you want to go do something else, if you want to go drive for dollars or work on marketing pieces or something like that, you'll get an email when that list is completed and we'll take you directly to the list. Yeah.
Great job, Dakota.
Thank you.
And one thing I love is this breakdown here. I forget who it was, talked about like KPIs and stuff. This is a great way to check and see what's working and what, did this list work well? Is this the criteria that perform better than other lists? And you can do this with your organic ones as well, just to keep track of those KPIs of maybe it was on a different marketing campaign, things like that. Trying to track those down. Awesome. Thanks, Dakota. Some of the other things that are included with every plan is real estate data. So we do have all the things that come with the basic owner info, and I'll show you guys that. We have skip tracing in the app. 14 cents on our starter and our professional plan, and 12 cents on our elite plan per skip trace. And I'll show you what you get with that. And then the direct mail marketing, which we have really pumped that up within the last like 3 now it's been a little bit longer, 3 months. Dakota also has a training on that, so I'm not going to go too deep into it. We're going to do very high level because it is a monster of a feature and it does so much. It's very much, you can get really lost in the weeds there. But first things first, I did talk about having tasks for your drivers. You can do tasks for your team as well with calling in things. Just so you guys are aware, this is available on all plans. You can see my past due from June 24th. You can see I didn't actually do that. So I would be getting a slap on my wrist from my boss of some sort saying bad you. And then you can mark as complete, but you can also see all the ones like drive leads filtered by. This was what I was kind of talking about. So I can click into this when I'm on my mobile phone and it can start me on that route. It's going to track me. It's going to lead me to where I need to go, which is even better. So you don't really, that's another safety feature of this, is that it's leading you there. You don't have to actually like try to figure out how to get there and get distracted. Just use it like your regular GPS when you're getting somewhere. So when we go into our leads tab, this is where all of your leads live, all of them. And you can customize this to show you any type of data that you would like. And even more so now with our custom fields option, which is available for our professional and our elite members. When what that means is, and I'll show you right here, you can go in here every time you go into a filter of some sort, whether that's highlights, filters, building a list. We have all the same data points, but you can add new ones. So as you see here, I made my own where it says priority 1, 2, and 3. And actually I saw another one that someone was doing where they were door knocking and they were using 2 different, and it was actually Matt Picaro, who was showing us his 2 door hangers, and he was tracking which door hangers would get a response from. So he had a new custom field where he could go down here. You can get different data points. And you can go by anything. I mean, you can filter everything by your lead list, by which ones have skip traced successfully. And then you can also edit these columns just kind of like an Excel sheet. All right, another thing, you can make these pictures bigger. So when David is in his meeting with his drivers, he doesn't want to click into every single one of these to check them. So just make the picture bigger. Makes it so much easier on the eyes. You can bulk edit things. So you can bulk edit by starting campaigns. It will not automatically start a campaign, just so you all are aware. It will just prompt you to tell it which campaign you want it to go on. And we have simple and advanced campaigns right now. Simple is just the same postcard over and over again, which is totally fine. And Jonathan, actually, I meant to ask you this. How many postcards do you average send out per like sequence?
I think in 2022, it's going to be neighborhood dependent, depending on how many good properties. So for areas that we think are in that, like how I explained, that second neighborhood behind, we'd be mailing more. So we're very cognizant of which one, and then it's really going to be a percentage of what comes in. Basically, anything that is judged as good will get mailed. So it's 100% of the good properties will get mailed. But as we get to 2022, I'll be able to give you like specific metrics, but it'll still be neighborhood specific, because we really want to target the neighborhoods that other investors aren't raining down in. Like the hottest neighborhood, we're in competition against all the other postcards. I still think my postcards are going to be better, the ones that we send out through you guys, but again, they have to be read to be better. So we're going to try to find the neighborhood behind the neighborhood and be a year ahead of everybody else. Buy low, hold, wait for it to appreciate, then decide what to do with it is part of what I like to do as well.
I love it. I love it. So you can start these campaigns here. You can skip trace in bulk. You can change the status, which if you didn't know, status changing just means going from, and if pending approval means you haven't started marketing yet. If you are also on our elite plan, you will be able to change these and you'll be able to make your own statuses for your team. So you can customize these to what makes sense, but we want to keep it really simple, especially if you're just starting out. So pending approval means that you're not sending mail with marketing. You have everything down to under contract, appointment set, and then you can also get the return to sender in trash or unqualified. So that's something really important. You can assign a lead owner now, which is brand spanking new. So this is good if you do have a team and you want to assign them to a specific person. So I can assign this to anybody that's like my admin or partner that is on my team in here. So I can assign it to my fiance if I really want to, but I'm not going to. Then I can add it to a list. I can drive the leads, which again, this is, creating a list. Never mind, cancel action. I can do that. You can go to more, you can pause campaigns, end them, export leads, and then you can permanent delete them too, which means that you could possibly add them again. I will tell you, I usually just keep mine in the trash because we don't duplicate them then. Your team cannot add the same one again, whether that's importing a list, adding them during Driving for Dollars, I would keep them in the trash at least. I don't know, Dakota, do you know a situation where you would feel like you'd have to permanently delete?
Not necessarily. I mean, I'm always, even if I accidentally add a property, I'm going to just put it in trash. That way, again, I don't run down the road and accidentally add it again, So I think it's always best to just put it in trash, because then when you're going through and always in mine, Elise has up on her screen, right? Lead status is one of those columns that you see there. So if you see one that's in trash, then you just skip over it, So that's my rule of thumb. That's what I prefer to do.
And then here you can import a list. So if you already have a list of leads that you want to add in here, you can just import it. When you go to view lead, you'll be able to see all the things that you can get, skip tracing the owner. You can see right here, I got add tags. This is all brand spanking new, guys. Manage lists. You can see the assigned lead owner, a bunch of stuff that's now really handy and very right here at the top, where it used to be all the way down at the bottom. So we're making it simpler. Then you can preview your mail. You can see the county records here. We actually have the county link here. We have a comps feature, which you can see, and you can filter by what you the area you want. You can see what houses you can actually, we have a comp calculator in here to get some basic numbers for you guys. And you can like select, deselect properties that you're like, this doesn't really match it, or I don't really like it. So here I can just unselect these and then my calculations change. So this is an add-on. It is $20 extra. And then also you guys can keep count of if I'm going through and calling all those tasks that I haven't called yet and you saw they were past due, I'd be coming in here and making a note and saying like called lead, and then setting up a following task to go ahead and call them again after X amount of days. So that's a way to keep your systems real seamless, streamlined and smooth and all the things. So going on to mailers. Oh, one last thing. I'm sorry. I always forget this. But when you're skip tracing, we do tell you if the phone number is connected. We run it through another filter. When we skip trace it, if it's connected, if it's a landline, we'll give you caller ID in there just so that you guys can see, does it match with the owner of the property? All the things. I love it. And we give you email addresses too and other addresses. I had someone in a chat the other day, I was in Brent Daniels live, said that they just throw away the return mailers. Don't throw away your return mailers. Skip trace them, find additional addresses, find their phone numbers, because if your mail is not getting to them, no one's mail is getting to them, most likely. Okay. Very rare. So you want to be that person to not throw it away, because the person who threw it away has no chance at this lead, where you probably will because you went the extra step. So going into mailers, Dakota, you want to give us a high level in here?
I will do my best. Mailers. So there's a ton of things that you can do with your mailers. I always like to start in the designs tab because that's where I always start. You want to make sure you have the design for your mailer before you do anything else, before you assign a campaign to it. So you have a lot of options when you are designing your mailers. And this is just an example. This is using our blocks template, which at least you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's our most popular template that we have is blocks. But if you, at least if you can click on create mailer for me, you can kind of see the system at a very high level. You can start from a template if you'd like to, or you can start from a blank page. So if you want to completely, entirely create one yourself from scratch with your own colors, your own boxes in the way, in the place that you want them, everything, it is fully customizable by you, or you can start from a template. And you still have all that same control. So if you want to change up the wording, you want to change up the colors, the positioning of any of the boxes or the text, you can do that as well. Now, once you've designed your mailer, right? And yeah, you can export and import designs as well, delete designs. Now, once you've designed your mailer, you'll want to create a campaign for that. At least talked about simple and advanced campaigns before, so I won't go too much into that. But you'll create your campaign that will utilize the mailer that you've selected. You can name your campaigns. You can also name your mailers. I forgot to mention that before. If you'd like more in depth, you can always join my training. We do have one going on tomorrow. But you can go into your campaigns. You can see how they perform, how many leads you're currently sending to, how many total mailers you've sent, who's up next for a mailing campaign. You can see that in the calendar. You can check on the steps for each individual campaign. This is an example what Elise is showing you of an advanced campaign. A simple campaign would just be that first step there, right? So this is just the campaigns. And again, I highly recommend naming your campaigns very specifically for the same reason we talked about before. You know who you're sending them to. Now, continuing on with the mailer tab, we do have a mailer queue. So you can see all the mailers that are scheduled to be sent out and pause any that are in there. You can see any potential issues that there might be with your mailers and always reach out to our support team. If you notice anything there, you have any questions, you can reach out to AJ and his team. And then in the very top right, you have your overall, your entire calendar view, which will show you each campaign, no matter which one it is, how many mailers are being sent out on a specific day, and to what leads. So you can check that out. And then, of course, the plus new campaign button. That's how you create your new campaigns. And that is the very, very, very high level overview of the mailer system.
I love it. You did great. Way to go. All right. And the next couple things are very, again, we know that this is an evening. We want to be very conscious of your time. Team is just your team and their permissions and what they have access to. Get free leads is your own personal promo code to send out to people that you get $5, they get $5. It's It's win-win. Selling page, you put something under contract. This is for everyone on here that has a DealMachine account. You can go ahead and make a landing page for that to send to your buyers list and to show them what it is. You can edit the information that they see. You can set it live. You can grab information from the property, and then it actually has right here where they can put all their information for it. And then you can see any buyer's messages that come in and for which property. So super awesome. And then we just have settings, which are your basic settings where you can find billing, your default things. This is also where you'll be able to see your custom fields and the lead statuses. Again, custom leads fields is going to be on Pro and Elite. And then lead statuses is Elite only. And you can customize those like this right here, where you can go ahead and change them around. You can move them up and down. And then custom lead fields, the tongue twister. You can put them in here and add groups. And actually, Dakota and I have a video coming out. Oh, we already have a video out. I totally forgot.
It is out.
Go please watch. AJ can drop that video in the chat so you guys can learn more about that. And then again, we want to know what features you guys want to see. We have this on here and we do listen to everything that you guys say. We have help and support. So we have support chat. We have instructional videos. Dakota and I are in a lot of those. We have live trainings with our man Dakota here. And then any updates, we update our app every 2 weeks with fixes and features and all sorts of things. And you can find all of those written down there to see what's coming new. So like the new assigning a lead thing that is from our last, what we call sprint. And so really excited about that. But anything, Dakota, that you saw that I needed to go over or questions about that we didn't answer?
I don't think so. You covered everything in the app. Great. One thing I did want to touch on, because I did see a couple questions. People are, how, if you're starting out, how does DealMachine work as a solution for all of these things? And really the way to think about it, right, is you have everything you need in one spot, right? We try to avoid the term all-in-one. Because that has some negative connotations to it. But we do really have all of these technologies for you guys to use, and they work incredibly independently. So if you just wanted to use Driving for Dollars, you could. If you wanted to use List Builder, you could. But you also have access to a really robust Leads tab, which would be your CRM. You have all the skip tracing in one place. You don't have to export and import to several different websites and several different technologies. You've got your mailers all in one spot. And that's the basis for how DealMachine started, right? David was investing back in 2016 and was missing out on deals because that process, the entirety of it, took so long from one point to another that you were missing out on potential opportunities. So you have all of this in one spot. You have everything that you would need in one spot to where you can do all of your processes and be able to take care of everything and take advantage of those deals that are there before too much time passes. So that's a very brief explanation of that. But for those of you that are curious about the technology and how it works and how it incorporates with everything else and why you would want to use it as a technology for you as an investor, it's got everything that you would need in it, right? And it allows you to be able to take advantage of those opportunities while they're in front of you.
All right, I saw a question. A great explanation, Dakota, by the way. But I wanted to show you also, Christopher asked about building a buyer's list. Really quick way that I kind of do that is just to I also mail to any LLC corporate owned properties as like a, hey, do you want more houses like this? I'm a wholesaler.
Thank you,
in the
Ryan.
area
Really
type
appreciate
of thing.
that.
But also if I have List Builder, I can type in my zip code, do owners of multiple properties, which there's 10,000 right here. I would narrow that down a little bit. Because that's a lot of people and you want to be able to create those relationships with your buyers. You want to know what they're looking for too. I think that's a really important thing is you want to look and not send them everything. That's one investor I've talked to says he works with wholesalers, specific wholesalers that send him things they know he wants and what he's looking for and the numbers match for him. Jonathan, can you agree with that? I see you shaking your head.
I think that's the most important thing in any type of, whether you're an agent or a wholesaler. Like if you want to get repeat business, it's you find out, build a relationship and know the smallest value of what they want and then only send them that. Because if not, you're going to send someone who's really busy investor, you're going to send them 10, 20 things, and then they're just not going to have time to go through it. And you didn't pay attention to them. So I completely agree. We always try to pin people down to 3 towns, never let you have more than 3 towns as an investor, because if you tell me I'll invest anywhere where there's a good deal, that just means a lot of my time is going to get wasted trying to figure out what you want. They have to figure out it first. And then would much rather, me as an investor, I would much rather get one email, like you said, from a wholesaler, like, this is what you're looking for. And if they're right, we're going to keep doing business all the time, because now I know I don't need to look. They're just going to send me when they have the best one. So yeah, I completely agree.
If anyone needs a buyer in Indianapolis, I got 2 of them that you can have, that I know, that literally that's where I got the information from, is because it was because he just kept saying, well, tell wholesalers here to tell them to work with me. But I want them to know like my criteria, because I don't want to be blasted all the time. Because then you start just looking over them, right? Like kind of like, well, this is a waste of time. All right, guys. That was our overview. I'm so happy that y'all have been on here. We do have another webinar coming up. It's every other week, except for I realized that we land on Thanksgiving this year. We are taking that day off. But we also are doing Takeover Tuesdays. Go follow us on Instagram. Go follow Jonathan on Instagram. And send us a DM if you guys need anything at all. We are here to support you. And we do, I do highly recommend our YouTube channel as well, just because there's a lot of tutorials on there and the trainings. Try to give you as many resources as possible to help you maximize this tool. So again, thank you all for being here. The replay will be live after this. But have a beautiful night, everyone. Be safe. And as always, happy
deal finding. Sorry about that, everyone. We got cut out there a little bit. Thank you so much for joining this evening. It was an awesome night, awesome evening with Jonathan Greene, and I thank you guys so much for joining and being a part of that. Ryan, thank you so much for all your comments in the thread there. Check out the YouTube channel. You can watch this replay directly after we end the stream here. And again, just thank you so much for attending. We'll see you all soon. 2 weeks from now, we will have another webinar going on. So feel free to come back here. You can always register and join the Zoom call as well if you'd like to do that. Otherwise, like Elise said, happy deal finding, everyone. Have a great evening.